Hello everybody, John Berghoff here. This week I've got a short video presentation for you, 2 keys to influence mastery, and if you're looking on the screen you'll see it says self-influence. If you've listened to me before, I shouldn't take credit for originating the idea, but I truly believe that there are many types of influence, and in business and in life, one of the most important types of influence is the ability to influence ourselves. And something that I've been doing lately that you'll hear more about in just a moment, I've been training to run a 400-mile ultra marathon from Washington, D.C. to Cleveland. And in the process of training, there's a lot that I've been doing physically, but also mentally. And I want to share a couple cool things with you today that I think might be valuable information for you. So first of all, let's talk about a challenge. You know, the challenge in business today is that there is a necessity to perform at a peak level, and the necessity, the need to perform at a peak level, it really goes up as the economy goes down. Now, I know I'm speaking generally, and regardless of what industry you're in or what role you are playing, hopefully you're the type of person who understands that now more than ever, but really always, it's important to be looking for tools to figure out how we can perform at a peak level. You know, there's the type of technology that we think about when we think about a computer, but then there's also human technology. There's some actually very real, practical tools to elevate our capacity as individuals, and I'm going to share 2 of these today with you. The first one, and just so you know where this comes from, again, I've been preparing for this run, I've been studying world-class performers of all different types, musicians, entrepreneurs, of course athletes, organizations. If you want to follow me on my run, you could go to 400milerun.com. And 2 of the common types of self-influence that I've been coming across consistently I wanted to bring to you. One of them is intensity of focus. You've probably heard the idea before of the zone, right? And what I want to bring to you is this. I experience being in the zone regularly. Not only as I'm training in my runs, for example, when I'm done with this recording right now, I'm going to go run for 8 to 10 miles and I will be in the zone. But I also experience this in my work. And when people think about the zone, I think sometimes there's a misconception. Sometimes people think of it as I'm zoning out, where really I think it's zoning in. I define it, as you'll see on the screen here, as complete presence. And what do I mean by complete presence? Well, what I mean by that, let's talk about time for a minute. What I mean by that is you're not worried about the past. You're not worried about the future. You're totally in the now. You're right here. Let's also talk about topic. You think about an activity that you might need to engage in your business, and complete presence means that when you're working on that topic, whatever it might be, you are focused 100% solely on the topic at hand. And that becomes the zone for you. You know, ultimately, being in the zone also means that whatever it is that you're doing, you're focused with a certain level of depth and also detail. I'll give you an example personally. When I go on my training runs right now, and I think so much of this is so applicable to an entrepreneur, so I'm hoping you get the lesson here. But when I go on training runs, you know, some people might hear me say, well, I'm about to go on a 10-mile run through the woods at the park near my house. And they might hear that and think, wow, you know, it must be nice to just go run, and gosh, to run, you know, that far, maybe you just kind of zone out. But like you heard me say earlier, it's actually the opposite. And I truly believe that world-class performers at anything, they develop an intensity of focus, and the way that they do it is by deepening their focus. Now, what does that mean? Well, for example, when I go running, I don't zone out and just think, okay, I'm going to, you know, try everything I can to just not think about the running because it's actual work. But instead, I zone in. You know, I think about each muscle of my body. I focus on my lungs as though my lungs are this machine that I can tune at a microscopic level. And how just shifting my thinking one bit, or by straightening my spine a millimeter here or there, it might give me that extra edge. I think about where is the weight, for example, in my feet when I land. Is it under the ball of my foot? In which section of the ball of my foot is it on? You know, I think about my form, and I think about how high am I bringing up my knees, and how long is my stride within the inch or the centimeter. And I try and get as detailed as I can, because I know that that level of intensity is what's going to be required to elevate my game to the highest level possible. So again, the first key to self-influence this week is intensity of focus. Let's talk about the second key that I want to share with you this week, and I call it the ability to love the plateau. Now, what do I mean by loving the plateau? Well, if you've been in business for any length of time, I'm sure you've had the experience at some point where you're trying to grow your team, your sales, you're putting out the effort, but for some reason the rewards and the results aren't matching the effort. And you feel like no matter what you do, you just can't move up. And that's what I would call the plateau. And what do I mean by loving the plateau? Well, what's interesting is as I've been doing the research that I've been doing, I figured, hey, to prepare myself to run 400 miles, I ought to study and learn about some of the legends or the stories of people in this planet who run really long distances. And I came across this one group known as the Tarahumara. And the Tarahumara is a group of tribal people who live in Mexico. And legend has it that the Tarahumara, the people, are literally, they run everywhere they go, but they don't just run, they run hundreds of miles at a time. Now, I know that might sound crazy to you, and it did to me at first, but as I studied this group, one of the things that I've discovered is that they have the ability to take what most people would consider painful, and you'll see I've got this up on the screen here, and convert it into pleasure. And I think that this is a very simple yet profound lesson that we could all take into our everyday lives and our businesses. You know, I think everybody gets the idea that, okay, in order to grow in business or to grow myself personally, a lot of times I have to do things in the present. There are things I have to do to grow myself, improve my personal abilities that may not pay off until well into the future. And you see, the challenge here is the ability to continue to do these things even though you're not noticing the payoff. Continuing to put out the effort to grow your business, to network, to meet the right people, to make the right connections, to solve the right problems, even when you're not getting the rewards. And so however you can relate this lesson here, the idea is this. Can you get yourself to keep doing these things even though you're not seeing the rewards? You know, you're on this plateau. Can you get yourself to do it enough until it gets to the point where you actually are getting results? And see, when most people give up is when the world-class performers continue. When most people give up is when the best in the world press on. So I just want you to think about that. You know, I put up on the screen here, finding total joy in the process. This is ultimately what I've learned the Tarahumara do when they run hundreds of miles at a time. You know, one of the key distinctions between this group and your average guy or gal who might go run 5 to 10 miles is that while they're out running, they're doing it for the sake of finding joy in the process. Now, as fluffy and as soft and as goofy of an idea as that might seem to you, I would encourage you to just consider that for a moment. Consider the idea that there might be areas of your business, and this is the coach in me coming out, because in my coaching practice, one of the things I do is I work on developing questions that I can ask that'll help people to learn about themselves. And I'll often ask somebody, you know, is there any area of your business, professionally or personally, where you know you need to improve, you know there's room to improve, but you're just avoiding it just because purely by addressing it, it's painful? And, you know, almost anybody I ask that question of, myself included, we can find something that we realize we need to get focused on, right? And like I said earlier, maybe get intensely focused on and improve it. Well, my challenge to you is this. If you can think of something that you know you need to work on, how can you approach that task or that area of your life or your business, and instead of dreading it, maybe look at it and ask yourself, how can I find total joy in this process? And the first time you do it, you might get upset that I'm even asking you to try. But then, once you dig in, you might find that there's this profound experience, this profound awakening or awareness that you have when you take something that you never would have considered as something that gives you total joy, and you look for that in the process. It's something that's helped me in my training right now, and maybe it'll help you in your business. Hey, if you've enjoyed these ideas, keep tuning in. Look for our video or blog entry next week. If you want to follow me on my run, you can come to 400milerun.com. Take care, everybody.